Hi friends, I'm Liz.
I'm Robbie. Welcome back to our channel Bookworm Couple, and happy December. Today we are going to be doing a November wrap-up / a December TBR, talk about the books we read together this month as well as the ones we read separately, and then look ahead a little bit to see what we're going to be reading together next month, let you know what videos we're going to be putting out, as well as talk about any maybe books that we may be reading on our own that we're excited about as well. So why don't we
Let's jump on in.
Jump on in. The first thing we read was actually together. Liz had the great idea that we were going to read Fourth Wing, which she was going to have me read Fourth Wing, I guess, because Iron Flame came out this month.
We were going to talk about it together.
Yes, we were going to talk about it together. So I read Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros, the first book in the Empyrean series, and I quite liked it. Yeah. I kind of went in expecting, this was, I think, the first really romance.
Yeah, we've really gotten into that, yeah.
With sex scenes in it. That I had ever really read, and it was good. I liked it. I found it extremely entertaining. I believe I gave it a 4.
Yeah, I loved this one. I had read this only about 2 months prior to him having read it, because it came out not that long ago, and I absolutely devoured it. Loved the world, loved the characters, loved the spice. I thought it was such a good read. Couldn't wait for the second one.
Yeah, I completely understand why it took over the world. I don't think it's the best book ever, but I think it is, like, the epitome of what fun, fast fantasy is, and absolutely. I think that absolutely has a place in the genre.
Yeah.
And then back to our regularly scheduled programming, I read the second book in the Throne of Glass series by Sarah J. Maas, Crown of Midnight, and again, I was really happy to read this book, because I think in basically every single way it was an improvement on the first, and I think that's the only thing you can ask when reading a continuing series. I think that's very exciting. Made me very excited to continue, because I felt like we were moving in the correct direction. I believe I gave it a 4 as well, and yeah, if you have read the first book in Throne of Glass and maybe it wasn't for you, I highly recommend you check out the second. I think it is really a big step forward.
Keep moving forward, because that series will pay off. Oh man.
Great. Well, I'm very excited.
Anywho. Oh, and then I read The Great Hunt, the second book in the Wheel of Time series. This one I liked much more than the first one. I think I had so much more investment in the characters and certain characters. I had a lot of fun. I started out really strong with this one, kind of struggled in the middle and the end, but was glad that I got there. Really cool, fun. Again, similar to how you said about Crown of Midnight, it definitely moved the plot forward and made me intrigued to continue reading the series and to continue on the journey with the characters that I've started to fall in love with. Yeah. So really glad that I stuck through to the second one, because it's not my normal genre. I mean, it's definitely my normal genre.
It's a different subgenre.
It's a different subgenre, and definitely a different level of languaging, and I guess prose is the correct word for that, yes?
Languaging, prose,
languaging, prose. It's definitely a little bit more elevated than what I'm used to, so definitely I have to put on my thinking. Yeah, very much more dense.
Rereading pages or paragraphs.
Oh, so many times. I've been listening to these books, which I really highly recommend the Rosamund Pike narrated versions on Audible. Phenomenal. Her voice is amazing. Obsessed. So it's been really fun, and I'm glad I'm continuing the series. Definitely made me want to continue. And then together we read Percy Jackson Sea of Monsters.
Yes.
Loved this one.
Yeah, I thought that this book had problems. The first one didn't, but there were also things in it like new characters as well as certain action sequences that I liked enough that it kept me about the same level entertained as the first one. So I also gave this one a 4, as I did, I believe, the first book as well.
Yeah, I really liked this one. I had fun. Made me excited to continue on the journey with our little Camp Half-Blood buddies.
Yeah, I know. They're great. And we're very excited for the series to
I'm so excited for the series.
In just a few weeks, which, well, we'll talk about that later.
We'll talk about that later. We'll definitely talk about that.
We absolutely will. But, and then, because it came out this month, on the 8th, I believe, we read the second book in the Empyrean series by Rebecca Yarros, Iron Flame, which was her first time as well.
Yes, hated it.
You didn't hate it.
I loved it and I hated it at the same time.
Okay, yes.
I hated it. I loved it, I couldn't put it down, but I also had a lot of problems with it.
Yeah.
This is, I don't know, I'm pretty easy to please. So, I had a lot of problems with it.
I was really disappointed. I mean,
especially with how much we both really enjoyed the first one.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't go in expecting the best book in the world, but I thought that this book was kind of a mess, to be honest. I gave it a 2, and I really just didn't enjoy my time. The problems way outweighed the bits that I liked, and that's a really big shame to say. But the series is now supposed to be 4 or 5 books long,
I think
if I remember
5.
correctly. So hopefully she can turn it around with the next book. I really hope.
Yeah, I gave this one a 3. I think 3.
I think you gave it a 3.
I think I gave it a 3. Yeah, I gave this one a 3. Because I had a hard time reading it because I couldn't put it down because I love the world and I love the characters, but I had so many problems with it that frustrated me throughout the entire series or the entire read of this book. Curious to see what happens next. I will definitely continue reading it because, like I said, I really like the world and I enjoyed the first one so much. Just had some problems with this one, which, you know what, they're not all winners.
Yeah.
That's what kind of makes
okay.
it fun.
Yeah.
Very
All right.
beaker of us.
What did you read? Did you have the time? We read a lot this month. Did you reread Fourth Ring with me?
I didn't. I thought about it, and then I just didn't have the time.
Did you? So what did you read anything this month on
your own?
Yeah,
I only read 2 novels on my own. I've been a bit busy in my.
Only 2. That means you still read 5 books this month.
That is a very good point. I don't know. I like reading a lot. And so I like to be able... There are times when that is not a difficulty for me to read a ton of books, but just struggling with my free time. But I did read the 2nd and the 3rd book in the Zodiac Academy series, which I talked about last time. I wasn't super in love with the first one. Remember. I am a person that I don't know, I think there's only been like 2 books in my life that I've stopped reading. I think I've pretty much always...
But this is like a 12-book series.
I know. Because here's the thing, I gotta know. If there is something about a series that intrigues me, like this one is kind of like the magic system. There are these 2 sisters that are twins, and I really like the girls. It's the Vega twins. You got Tori and you got Darcy. They're really fun, like...
Good names.
Yeah, really, first of all, great
names.
Solid names. I find the magic very, very interesting.
Okay.
There is this big dilemma that involves these 2 women that I have to know what happens. Like, I have to know how it all fizzles out. And here's the thing, I don't dislike reading them. I'm intrigued, but I do think that may be why I haven't been reading as much, because I'm not, like, devouring these books as much or as fast, because I don't really have the drive beyond the fact that I want to know what happens.
Interesting. I don't know. I feel like for a series that's that long, it would be hard for me to continue. And I'm the same way. Like, I am
it's
plot
hard to
first
not,
as a reader. That is what most interests me, the story, usually, depending on the series and the author. But, well, I mean, if you're enjoying yourself, then...
I'm enjoying myself, honestly. Like, there's spicy, too, which I love a spice.
Isn't it YA?
No.
It's not? I don't know. I made that up. Okay.
It might... I mean, it definitely... It's YA-ish.
Sure.
It reads kind of YA, whereas, like, it's not... And I think that is probably part of the reason why I have some issues with it. It's not very mature. In a way of, like, the way the conflicts happen and what the conflicts are. It feels very much like I am back in college. Like, because I think they're 18, 19, 20-ish area. Maybe 18. 19. I don't know. Anyway, they're around that era of life. And so it very much feels like, oh, yeah, okay. Which I'm very much not in that phase of my life. But I'm intrigued enough mainly with the main 2 characters that I want to make sure they're okay. I want to get to the end to see how that they're all set up. So, and again, like I said, I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued by the magic. There's enough of the stories that are intriguing me to continue reading it. I definitely plan on continuing the series until I finish.
Great.
What did you read?
Okay, so this month I read 4 books on my own. I had a pretty good reading month.
Yeah,
quite a bit. So as I said in the last video, I was about halfway done with the final book in the 5 Warrior Angels trilogy by Brian Lee Durfee. This book's called The Lonesome Crown, and I completed it this month, I believe the first week of November, and I loved it. It finally got to where I wanted the series to get, like, enjoyment-wise, so I gave it a 5. There is a battle sequence in this book that I don't know, because I was reading it on Kindle, so I didn't have pages, but I think it was like 30% of the book, and the book is 1,000 pages long, so it was
never-ending
nuts. It was completely crazy. I don't know that I've read a book in recent memory where I truly, even in the last like quarter of the book, did not know what was going to happen because everything was so nuts.
Amazing.
The entire onus kind of the trilogy is a big play on prophecy and chosen one tropes, as well as like with heavy religious theming, and it's done in a way in which you really like I had no idea what was going to happen, who was going to live and die. It was completely crazy. Around, like, the first half of the book was still around that 4-star level for me, but then around the 50 to 60% mark, it just, like, all these characters that had never met before started meeting up. All the storylines converged.
Avengers Endgame situation.
And then there were shoot-offs of characters that I would never have put together, which was amazing. Some of the characters that I hated the most throughout the whole series, like, for example, there's this girl named Liz Henn who all she does is, like, complain the first few books, and by the end of the third book she was one of my favorite characters.
Love that journey for her.
It was really great. Again, I really think this is a super underappreciated series. If you like dark fantasy, if you like, introspective religious theming, if you like tones on if you like twists on prophecy and chosen one themes, please do yourself a favor and read this. It really deserves more love, in my opinion. Brian Lee Durfee's prose continues to improve over every book. I have heard that he has apparently said that maybe there may be more stories in this world, which would be great. I would love to read them. Yeah, it was really great. I really enjoyed my time with it, and it was a great way to start off the month. The next book I read was a little bit more light. My second foray into Discworld. It was Mort by Sir Terry Pratchett. I liked this book.
Who is your favorite character in?
Yes, in Throne of Glass. Yeah.
Not the same
character at all. Same name. If you've not read it, the setup of the story is essentially death, the metaphysical manifestation of death. Like the Grim Reaper takes an apprentice named Mort, who is this kind of like gangly, awkward kind of guy.
Sounds great.
And it was really good. I know people love Mort. I like this book. I thought it was very good. I think I gave it a 4. I didn't like it I didn't love it, I guess, as much as Guards. But what really struck me in this one was Terry Pratchett's ability to not only write a very funny satire that just kind of flies by, but also include some really deep introspective moments about, like, the nature of a metaphysical being and death and loneliness, which I wasn't entirely expecting, though I think I probably should have for a book series with this much reach and staying power. But anyway, I really enjoyed it. Mm-hmm. I think now if I'm gonna, the next book, Discworld book I read, which I don't know when I'm gonna pick it up again, but the next Discworld book I read, I think I'm probably just going to start at the beginning. The Color of Magic, I believe, is the first book, and then just go forward from there, because I think I've read enough now to know that it's definitely for me, and I do enjoy it. So, looking forward to
Color of Magic.
Yeah, so looking forward to reading more of those as time goes on. And then the next 2 books, I decided to jump into The Realm of the Elderlings by Robin Hobb, and I read the first 2 books in the Farseer trilogy, The Assassin's Apprentice and Royal Assassin.
Gotta have an assassin.
Yeah, gotta have lots of assassins. And I'm about a quarter of the way through Assassin's Quest right now, so I'm sure I'll have finished that by the end of next month. But anyway, I adore these books. Robin Hobb has become one of my favorite authors basically overnight. I think that this is an unbelievably beautiful and brilliant character study of a book. It is probably the best character-driven fantasy I have ever read. Fitz is infuriating but beautiful. Really can't say enough. And I'm not going to say anything that other people haven't said before. Her prose is beautiful. Her character work is incredible. Yes, the plot is kind of slow, but I thought it was gripping. I really like, especially the last quarter of both of these books, the political machinations that kind of drive the story forward. I just couldn't put it down. And her prose is gorgeous. It's like sinking into a warm bath. And the thing that really struck me about it was not that it was beautiful. It was. Everyone says that about Robin Hobb. Her prose is gorgeous. It's the accessibility of that beautiful prose that is what really struck me. When I think of beautiful prose, a lot of times I think of things that are much more dense. I think of, like, Lord of the Rings.
Tolkien,
I think of Tolkien. I think of Malazan Book of the Fallen. I think of things that are beautiful and make you think and maybe make you have philosophical questions about yourself or the nature of life or challenge you in certain ways. But those I also relate to being extremely dense and having to reread or being so slow that, like, you have to be in the right mindset to read them. And I didn't find that with this. I found all of those incredibly beautiful things in a package that I didn't have to, like, excavate to get meaning out of. I could just read it. I'm not, like, rereading paragraphs or rereading pages or going back in chapters to try and catch what I missed. I don't know how she does it, but she has this way of writing that is so accessible that I can just pick it up and go and get all of the things I get out of some of the densest fantasy that I've ever read while just flying through the pages. So I really can't say enough about this. If you have been waiting to read Realm of the Elderlings because you're like, oh, I hear it's really slow, or I hear it's really sad, and those things are true, but you're only going to know if it's for you if you pick it up, and just don't wait. It is gorgeous.
You have me very intrigued.
So beautiful.
I want to read it.
It follows I guess I'll give a very brief overview of at least what this trilogy is about, because it's 16 books split up into, I think, 3 trilogies and a quartet.
Oh, fun.
Or 4 trilogies and a quartet. Anyway, this trilogy follows the character of Fitzchivalry Farseer.
Of course.
He is the bastard son of Chivalry Farseer, who was king in waiting, or prince, essentially. And it essentially just follows Fitz's life, and it is a first-person perspective. You follow Fitz, and you're in his head, and it's one of the best realized characters I've ever seen written in fantasy. And it also helps that he's like a lonely empath who's dealing with depression, which really leans itself to some kind of very introspective, philosophical, and beautiful prose. And but also
those are the kind of series that I feel like give us so much healing on our own. So what a beautiful thing.
And all of the other characters as well, even though we don't, we're not inside their heads, they're all, very distinct and well written in their own right. It's just it's stunning. So hopefully we're continuing to make this channel long enough that I have you read some of them.
I would love to. I'm so intrigued. Your descriptions and ratings are
so I gave both of the first 2 books a 5.
Look at that!
So we'll see how I feel
about
the
third
one. But yeah, it was a really good month reading for me, at least with the books that I chose to read. Yeah, actually overall there was one. There's Iron Flame was a bit of a downer, but otherwise it was a solid month, and I read a lot, so that was really good. So do you have any books that you are thinking of reading?
Too many books that I'm thinking of reading. So I have.
You know what? Let's go over what we're going to.
Oh yeah, okay. Let's go over what we're going to read.
So next month I am going to be continuing my foray into the Throne of Glass series. I will be reading the prequel collection of novellas, Assassin's Blade. So that will be the first video that we release this month, I guess next week. And then, assuming you have had time to finish The Dragon Reborn.
Yeah, no, I'm going to try and dig into The Dragon Reborn.
If Liz has not managed to finish The Dragon Reborn yet, we will release our video of Titan's Curse for that second week, and then
book
hopefully
3 in the Percy
Jackson series, and then hopefully by then you will have finished Dragon Reborn, and so we can release that video.
That's my goal.
Yeah. So on your own, is there anything you are interested in reading next month?
Too many.
Okay.
We'll see. I will have some more time this month, though, so I do believe in myself that I can get to all these books. Yes, I have one of my favorite authors, Jennifer L. Armentrout, and I'm assuming I'm saying that right, but I'm not sure. She did the Blood and Ash series. She released a few books the past 3 months, I guess, that I've now gotten my hands on from the library. So those are high priority to me. The first one is a kind of like a different perspective of one of the Blood and Ash books from a different character. So we start in the present where we had ended the last book, but then we go back and get things through his perspective. I've never read a book like that, so I'm very intrigued. Cool. I really like the character. I love this series, and I love the characters. I think Jennifer L. Armentrout is a fantastic author. She writes my favorite spicy scenes of all time. So I was looking forward to that one. She also has a new series that just came out, and I'm forgetting the name of it, but I got the first book in her newer series that I'm very excited about. And then what I'm most excited about from her is, so the next book in the Fire and the Flesh series, which is the prequel series to the Blood and Ash series that Jennifer L. Armentrout wrote. I'm not always a huge fan of prequels. This series I like better than the main series. I'm obsessed with the main character, specifically Sarah, who's the main female character in it. I don't know what it is. I just absolutely love it. I'm very excited to read this next book. This was one of the books, the book prior to this was one of the books that I left off being like, I simply cannot wait for the next book. So very excited for that one. And then I do have...
Oh, you got a lot.
I know, I told you it's too many. So we'll see. Though I will say, any of the Blood and Ash series books I tend to read very fast because I love them so much.
Great.
And they read pretty fast. They're very intriguing. The last one that I'm hoping to read is a Jenny Colgan book. If you're looking for something very cozy and Irish or Scottish, she's mostly writes in Scotland. Pick up one of her books. They're all titled really cutesy things, but the stories are delightful. They all kind of happen in the same world, but you're encountering the same characters, but in a very removed way, if that makes sense. Like a lot of times it'll be like the same town, and that person that the like cute little love story from the first one, they're like there on the side, but this is a new character and a new person. They're delightful little series. They're like cupcake shop on the shore, the bookstore on the corner, and this one. So last year I read, it was the Christmas bookshop, I think. And then this year is Midnight at the Christmas bookshop.
Ooh.
So they're very cute. They're really easy reads. They're really cozy. There's a little bit of romance, like a little bit of spicy intrigue. Not very spicy, definitely a closed door situation, but there's a lot of passion, and they're just delightful. If you like things, you know, set in a different country, or if you're from Scotland and read it, they're really cozy and great, and I love having at least like one Christmas book on the docket. It's a very easy read.
Yeah,
to get some
that's
cute
cute.
and cozy.
I love that.
Yeah, what about you? What are you reading this month?
Well, I'm going to finish Assassin's Quest, so however long that takes me, and I don't really have my TBR lined up yet. I think I'm going to not jump right into Live Ship Traders, which is the second trilogy in the realm of the Elderlings series. I've heard it's amazing. I just think I'm going to take a beat and do something else. I only really have one book on my TBR. I feel like every booktuber I watch has been recommending the Sun Eater series by Christopher Rocchio.
Sun Eater?
Yes. So I'm going to be reading The Empire of Silence, the first book in that series. It is a...
God, don't you just love fantasy book names?
Mm-hmm.
They're so dramatic.
It is a sci-fi, sci-fantasy space opera thing. I haven't read sci-fi in a very long time. I've heard it, you know, kind of compared to Name of the Wind, but mostly because of the narrative structure where it's, you know, the character telling their story, which is kind of similar to the Elderlings, actually, as well as compared with Dune or Red Rising, both of which I've read, and I adore Red Rising. So I'm assuming I'm going to like this series. I've heard nothing but fantastic things about it, so that is the only thing I know I'm going to be reading this month, and if I like it as much as I think I may just binge the series from then, and if not, then I will, I don't know, maybe read another Discworld book or something, we'll see. But that is...
we got lots of reading.
We got lots of reading to do. So, we mentioned a little bit earlier in the series, but we are very excited for the Percy Jackson TV series to come out. I think we might be doing some little episode discussions or reviews, or maybe just a full series review. We haven't really decided yet, but we're gonna be releasing some videos about that series because we're really excited to see it. I think it looks pretty fun.
That looks great.
Yeah, it looks really good.
It's, again, as I feel to reading it, I'm like, oh man, I wish I would have had this
as a kid, right?
Preteen. Oh, it would have changed my world.
Yeah, so really excited for that. And instead of doing a wrap-up / TBR this month, we're going to try and attempt to do a probably much longer video of us tier ranking everything we have read this entire year. Now, if you're like Liz and saying, Robbie, you only started this channel a few months ago, why do people care about what you read before?
I did not say that.
Yes, you did. I will tell you why. I will tell you why. One, because I think it'll be interesting to see where we stack the books we have given each other to read in our own tier lists. And two, because I read a lot of books this year, and I selfishly want to talk about them because some of them were really good. And so,
great.
I read a lot of really good books this year, and selfishly, I just want to talk about them. So that's the second reason. So we're going to try and do that. I have to figure out how technologically we can make that work, but that is our plan for like a monthly wrap-up /
yearly
TBR. Yeah, it'll be more of a yearly wrap-up and then a tiny bit of TBR at the end, but expect that towards the end of the month. And I think that's everything we have.
Yeah, we're great.
So thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe to catch all those videos that we were talking about. Let us know in the comments down below if you've read any of the books that we read, either together or separately, what you thought of them. Or if you have any suggestions for us. We always love suggestions, so please don't hesitate to throw those down in the comments as well.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you on our next adventure.